Hello and welcome, everybody. I am thrilled that we could come together today to celebrate National Principals Day. My name is Knox Adams, and I have the pleasure of serving as the General Manager of Artshine. First and foremost, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for hosting an Artshine program at your schools this year. Your commitment to fostering creativity and supporting art education has been truly inspiring, and it is because of leaders like you that we are able to continue spreading the joy of art to students across Canada. Today, we have a special session lined up for you featuring the amazing Vinita Mongia. Vinita is not only a renowned Ontario principal, but also a leadership consultant with a wealth of experience in guiding school leaders towards more effective, compassionate practices. Her session, Confident Leadership by Design, promises to be both enlightening and empowering, offering practical strategies to enhance your leadership journey. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our distinguished guest, Vinita. Vinita, we are so excited to have you with us today, and we look forward to learning from your insights.
Thank you, Knox. It's a pleasure to be working with you and Paul, who's not here with us today, but pleasure to be working with the two of you and to be in this really amazing supportive relationship with Artshine. I look forward to sharing a little bit about how our partnership came to be, because it's all kind of woven into a little bit of the journey that I think our participants can relate to in terms of the current context of leading in a school through the pandemic and post-pandemic. So it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be here on National Principals Day. So just to all of our principal colleagues, wanting to share some gratitude and appreciation for your continued leadership. Your role is paramount to every school community, and one that is not necessarily really always well understood beyond the school context. So, as school leaders and as businesses who support schools, we truly understand the complexity of your job and the dedication that you have to your school community. And we're here today to share that appreciation. And we also want to thank you for taking time to be part of this leadership journey with us today. So, as a recently retired principal, I am here to share a little bit about a personal journey that I embarked upon. And, in partnership with Artshine, we're hoping that this story and this journey is something that you can connect and relate to as a school leader, and that maybe it inspires you to maybe take some initiative as well to pay attention to your well-being and pay attention to the journey that you are navigating as a school leader, and your connection also to Artshine, and maybe inspire you to kind of connect with a really great partnership in a different way. So my journey started, it took a few years to get to where I was in my burnout journey. And I will say that I am engaging in very open, honest conversations around burnout as a school leader, because I think it's something that we're just not openly talking enough about as school leaders, because it's not really you know, something that we speak about openly as a badge of honor. We get to this place of burnout because of our dedication, our hard work, our commitment to our leadership. And in our journey, we get used to taking on more and more amounts of stress. And we normalize that stress is just part of the job. And we should be able to manage it as good leaders of schools. So the more and more experience I had as a school leader, the more tolerance I had for stress. And the more it became like a normalized thing of how my day was, how my weekends were, how I navigated my summers. But what I've learned is that taking on more and more stress and normalizing what it looked like and felt like wasn't always in our best interests for our personal health and well-being. So many of us do get to a place of burnout and don't even necessarily know the symptoms or the signs until we get so far into it. And like me, find yourself having to take a leave of absence from work, which was a really low point in my career. And many of you may be thinking about, wow, is that me? Am I, am I loving my job? Am I feeling joy in my job? Am I feeling well in my job? So if these are things that you're thinking about and wondering about, then we're glad that you're here because this is a place to have some of those conversations. So my journey of getting to that place of burnout wasn't just something that I noticed in myself, but it's something that I noticed in my school team. The staff in my school were, they didn't appear to have joy. They were highly stressed out, lots of crying, lots of frustration with what they were navigating with our students. And there was a lot of pressure that was coming at the board level and systemic level. Our kids were demonstrating behaviors and attitudes and things that we had never seen before, as well as within our parent communities. So in comes me searching on the internet for an opportunity to engage with a school partner that could maybe help regulate the nervous system of our school staff a little bit differently. And that's when I started connecting with Artshine and started engaging in conversations with the Artshine team around this is how I'm feeling and this is what I'm seeing in my staff. Can we partner with you? Can you come in and do something for the staff to help us come together as a team, regulate our nervous system, and bring us together in a way that brings in the joy and the fun? Because we're missing that in school. And the conversations at the time with, Paul and Knox were really eye-opening because what I learned as a school leader, I never really thought about this before, but when we partner with our business partnerships and our contacts are going in to school to school to school, and in this case, across many provinces, they had a first line view of what was going on in schools, how principals were showing up and how staff were showing up in that very depleted, stressed out, burnt out way. Like, so I remember conversations around like, oh, we can barely even have a conversation with the principals because they're running around everywhere. They're so stressed out, and sometimes they're breaking down, like they're bursting into tears just with a question of like, how are you? Um, and this was like eye-opening to me to say, wow, like our outside partnerships are seeing things that, are good indicators to the stress that we're seeing in schools. So that's how my partnership with Artshine started. And truly, there was so much care and compassion from this team that even when my journey to taking time away happened and there was a little bit of hiccup in some of the partnerships that we were like beginning to embark upon, I stayed in touch and we stayed connected because we thought like this is a really interesting kind of connection here where if I can help Artshine connect with what the landscape is like for school leaders and they can kind of help me to sort of bring in some great programs for our school teams and then let's keep this conversation going. So that's how our story connected. And in my journey to pivoting to creating a voice and creating a service directly connected and servicing school leaders, Artshine has been there along the way, kind of being a supportive partner and being present at some of my conferences that I've presented at and really supporting the CALM framework that I've created. So Knox, before I continue sharing, is there anything that you wanted me to sort of tap into before we go into the calm framework?
No, I think that's you kind of touched on all of those kind of the points that connect us.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a screen that is highlighting the tool that we wanted our principal contacts to be able to walk away with. And we're just going to really succinctly share the overview of this calm framework. And as a school leader, as we share this framework, what I would like you to be able to do is think about your current pain point as a school leader. Like, what is it that's keeping you up at night? What is it that you are the most stressed out about? So I often will use the analogy of a water line. So if your water line, like if the water is like right here for you and you're trying to just lower that water line and catch your breath and feel like you can go to work every day and manage the stress of the demands of the day, I want you to think about what that particular pain point is for you. And as we go through this calm framework, think about how you could apply this framework to your particular unique scenario. So, in my journey, I ended up doing a lot of learning myself to learn how to navigate the burnout, how to be able to be well and strong again, to be able to lead school differently. Because if I went back to work and did the same thing that I was doing before, then I would land up where I was again. So the calm framework evolved from my journey and from the research. There's lots of research out there, but from the research related to what are the recommendations for school leaders in order to be able to manage the workplace intensification, manage the stress and the burnout that we understand they're experiencing. So I'm going to go through this really quickly, and then I'm going to share some prompts that I'm going to leave with you as a way to apply this CALM framework to your current pain point or your current lived experience. So the C, connect to cultivate supports. That is an opportunity for us as school leaders to recognize that number one, you're not in this job alone. There are principals in your superintendency, in your board, in your province, and across Canada that are experiencing the same story. And for me in particular, I never really thought about connecting through social media platforms, through LinkedIn, for example, through Instagram and Facebook groups. That there are so many out there that are dedicated to supporting school leaders, and that is something that is thinking outside the box for your connection. If you don't feel vulnerable that you want to necessarily reach out to people directly in your unit, you may want to consider listening to some principal podcasts. It's something I had never done before and felt an immediate connection to the story and the struggle and the feeling of not being alone in this journey. One of the immediate things that I needed to do from the Connect was rallied my friends in my immediate superintendent unit, and we set up weekly meetings that were just well-being check-in meetings. So it was a placeholder in our calendar where I said, I'm really needing this. I was a single administrator. I didn't have a vice principal. I felt very lonely in the job. And so the purpose of the meeting was just to connect on a weekly basis just to say, how are you doing? How how are you feeling? How might you need some support right now? And so that ended up being a support not just for me, but for the small team that were also single administrators and were finding that they needed that support. So that's the beginning of where the connect comes in. Attitude of gratitude to embrace positive thinking patterns was a bit of a longer journey around really paying attention to how negative the thoughts were about school and the mindset was. Like, I just found that I was paying attention to how little joy I was feeling in the job and how everything had become a problem or a negative. And I'll give you a small example around that. As the pressures of our role increased and really feeling like there's never enough time to get the job done, never enough time to meet the needs of like students, the staff, the community, the job, the board asks for, as well as all the tedious tasks and projects that we're managing. Things like, having to go out for a recess to be able to be a supportive person and to make sure like things were going okay. Those were little things that I started to become that I was resenting. And so, as part of this journey, where, say, the pain point for me was like, I cannot regulate my nervous system anymore using all the strategies and resources that I used to. Something like going out for recess would be otherwise considered a really good positive thing. You're getting out, you're fresh air, you're walking, you're playing and engaging with kids. All the good reasons of how that is positively contributing to well-being, I had to really like train myself to say, oh, I get to go out and I get to have a break and I get to play with kids and I get to have some fresh air and I get to get some steps in, even if I felt like that 20 minutes could have been otherwise helping me complete all the to-do lists that were pending. So it was really around making a conscientious attitude to be positive, to have gratitude, to create positive thinking patterns, because otherwise it's a doom and gloom kind of day. Um, so that's like one little example that I like to share. Learn for personal and professional growth was something that in my journey, I had to really look at what were the triggers in the role of principal as they currently are that I know are not going to change. So if there's a lot of information overload, for example, if there's a lot of new technology that we're managing, if there's, you know, new roles and responsibilities that are coming down and being added to our plate, where where am I struggling? And where can I learn a new, maybe, more efficient approach? Learn through connecting and collaborating with a colleague where we may share some of the load and responsibilities. Learn around how can I manage my time a little bit better? So we know as principals, we never really have enough time in the day, but we're not going to get more hours in the day, and the work is not necessarily going to stop. So whether I'm going to learn how to set boundaries differently, whether I'm going to learn how to delegate, learn how to approach the flow of my day a little bit differently, whatever it is, I had to do something intentionally in order to manage the demands of this job differently. So for you as school leaders, if time management and managing the hours and the job and the responsibilities is something that you're struggling with, this could be a good starting point around the learn. And the last is the mindful measures for well-being. So for me, I had a lot of these practices in place as just who I was personally and professionally, but they weren't working anymore. So I had to really intentionally look at like, am I that principal that is scarfing my food down while I'm like catching up on emails or like in between moments here or there, or not even eating? Like I'm like digging into my lunch bag at the end of the day, 3 o'clock when everyone's like heading home, and then navigating my yogurt, navigating my breakfast and my lunch all at the same time. Those are patterns and mindful measures we need to really unpack and look at differently. So that's just like a general overview of where this calm framework came in and where I feel like school leaders can kind of tap into. This next slide is where we look at that framework, and I leave you with prompts. Like if something kind of resonated with you with that framework, what's a prompt that you might be able to tap into as a beginning starting point for you? So you might feel like you're really lonely in the job and you're feeling really isolated and you're feeling disconnected. You may say, well, I will increase my supportive connections with, and have a call to action where you decide, I'm actually going to take that strategy and either connect with some colleagues, or I might dabble with listening to a podcast, for example. Attitude of gratitude. I can shift my thoughts and feelings related to. So if you're really feeling really negative around, there could be a particular scenario in your school that's related to a student need or a staff need or a parent or a workload. Where might I begin to start shifting that negativity? Because whether you're conscious or subconsciously negative around it, it is weighing on you and contributing to your stress and well-being. Learn. I can choose to center my own personal and professional learning about. So, as school leaders, we're constantly being asked to learn more around whether it's academic achievement, student well-being, diversity and inclusion. We're always being asked to learn to do our job better and differently. But are you investing in your own personal and professional learning? And that's where, I dabbled into the funds that I had available for me as a school leader. And I started taking my leadership learning into my own hands, working with a leadership consultant, investing in holistic healing, investing in resources like the Calm app, for example, to really center my own learning, because I was responsible for my well-being. I was responsible for my stress. I had to be responsible for the burnout and coming through that. And mindful. How can I regulate my nervous system? So we do a great job in school helping kids regulate their nervous systems and helping our school teams regulate, but are we paying attention to regulating our own? And where can we start to pay attention to that importance? Whether it's even like having your water and actually drinking it, or building in breaks, or looking at your time in your day and looking at like, where is there balance or where do we need to bring balance? So those are the prompts that that we'd like to leave with you as your beginning way to tap into this calm framework. So I'm going to stop the share there, and kind of Knox, if there's any way, I know we do a lot of work around that framework as well. If there's anything that you wanted to add in before we kind of wrap up.
I mean, I know that since, connecting with you and hearing this framework many months ago, um, I have been able to take that into, even though I'm not a principal, I do manage a bunch of teachers in their own way. And I've also taken that and been able to apply it to my position at Artshine, and I feel like it's helped change how I interact and see the work I do as well with teachers and education and the art that I bring to every school across Canada.
Ah,
So,
so
so yeah, so thank you for sharing that with me and now everyone else as well. Um, yeah,
And so, before we close off, I know that you had invited me to share an offering for your school teams, and really, what I would like to invite you is to we'll be sending a follow-up email to you through this presentation, to tap into maybe listening to one of the podcasts where I go a little bit deeper into the calm, and to, I do have a website that I invite you to explore and just to reach out for if you want to engage in a one-on-one conversation, by all means, reach out. We'll set up a 30-minute call just to be able to engage in that conversation. I find that following these webinars and presentations, people do really want the one-on-one conversation because this is new to be able to be vulnerable and to open up and to share like a little bit about, yeah, like you kind of took the words out of my mouth when you said I'm feeling really lonely, or I'm feeling not well, or I'm really having a hard time managing. And so um in our role, it's hard to be vulnerable with your superintendent or with your colleagues or with others. So that's why I'm here. So we just wanted to be able to invite you to reach out. And you know, there's a reason kids have so much joy with art. And I think as adults and as school leaders, embracing that opportunity to really regulate our nervous system through the joy of play and creativity and getting messy with the paints and all of that is something that we seem to have forgotten. So I really hope that the school teams and the schools communities that you guys are servicing will embrace that opportunity, and and what I like to say to school leaders is to remember to lead with well-being and thrive with confident leadership. It was a pleasure to be here today with you and your team, Knox.
thank you so much, Vinita, for sharing your framework and expertise with everyone today. Um, your insights in maintaining that confident leadership has been, like I said, incredibly valuable to me, and I'm sure to many principals and school leaders